So why the Libyan floods were so devastating, or what was the reason that Morocco precisely have experienced a near flattening down with the recent example of earthquake? Am I supposed to remember every place and every city that has come in the newspaper? Technically, answer is yes. But how do I remember all these names? And for that, you have to understand the locational characteristics of map very clearly. And that is what I want all of us to take. The strategy or the approach with which we prepare our map is ultimately going to make and break the things for us. How do you integrate the contemporary information with it? I'll be making you understand that hand in hand. But first and foremost, introduction of map goes with introduction of what is geographical grid. Because once I get onto that geographical grid, I'll be in the position of making sense with, you call it lines, isn't it? Latitudes and longitudes. Because if you see the prelims question paper, you have got the questions directly coming up from map, which incorporate 1, the time zone, 2, the thermal zone, 3, which are the countries or the states via which some important latitude or longitude is traversing. I just need to be at ease with these expressions to understand the location. So not to waste time, I have taken up the reference very clearly of, I'm still requesting all of you, first class, I have permitted you, I request all of you to be please there 5 minutes before we begin. I'm very apt with my time. I'll be always beginning the class at 1. I request all of you to be please there in waiting room 5 minutes before 1 so that we can begin the class, because now I'll not be permitting anyone. I don't mind a small size class, but I want it to be fruitful to all of us. So take note of the things that I'm telling you. If you are aware of it, revise it. If you are not aware of it, make sure that every baby step that we are taking, you are learning it, because this is going to go a big distance in you solving out your precise map-based question and your comprehension of many things that comes up in newspaper. This is map of world in front of us. I don't have to introduce you to that. When I take the map of world into consideration, I have to take 5 oceans and 7 continents to our account. Habitable continents is marked up here, so Antarctica is not here. And what you have to take into your stride is simply this thing to just begin with, right? So when I talk about the continent of Asia, so I just label it like this. I make my marker thicker. I mark Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean again, Arctic Ocean, and this is Southern Ocean. Southern Ocean marks up its beginning south of 50 degrees south latitude, because Antarctica is not drawn in our map. So it becomes comparatively difficult. So Southern Ocean is south of 50 degrees south. And that is the reason what you need to be cautious with is the locational characteristics. Supposedly I encounter a question which is asking me to take on which are the water bodies with which I correlate shoreline of Asia. So I should not be in the position of taking up the demarcation very clearly of marginal waters or the oceans. So Asia has nothing to do with Southern Ocean, sounds logical. Asia has to do with Arctic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, sounds very logical. But what you have to note on, let me write Arctic here. What you have to note is this, and I slightly zoom it up here. This territorial stretch of Asia, this is called Asia Minor, older name of Turkey, is having its shoreline with, and I use a red color, the Black Sea, this is Mediterranean Sea, and they are part of Atlantic Ocean. So have we made a point of understanding done here that Asia relates to Atlantic Ocean shoreline as well? These are very minor things that has to be handled and handled very cautiously. So I opened this map to begin with, basically to make you understand location को कैसे pick up करते हैं. कोई इसके लिए you don't have anything called a rule for you to follow. You have to be familiar by opening it up again and again. Another thing before I proceed to the technical details, as I want to start up with the locational categories of latitude, longitude. So ये जब आप डिमार्केट करते हैं ना, that land mass which is bounded by water, I'm not following the shoreline completely, land mass bounded by water is being demarcated as a particular continent. तो ये पूरा का पूरा लैंड मास तो एक साथ ही जा रहा है. You should call it Eurasia, but why it is not referred as one continent is also an important aspect for us to apply. And for that, we need to be aware of mountains, marginal waters that go one by one into the domain. So what I do is I get on to more informative map right here in introducing ourselves to land masses, because I have to follow the demarcated reference of continents to make you comfortable with important latitudes and longitudes. So when I talk about the land masses, आप ध्यान से देखते जाइए और समझते जाइए. I have got 7 continents, and this very clearly gives me the demarcation of each one of them. I'll be again and again opening this map as I'll be beginning up with the details of everything. So the first thing that you have to notice is the landmass of Asia. And when I take landmass of Asia, this is what I was trying to draw out. The landmass of Asia incorporate very clearly Asia Minor, Arabian Peninsula, Indian Peninsula, Indo-China Peninsula, Korean Peninsula, Kamchatka Peninsula, Chukchi Peninsula, Taimyr Peninsula, and done. जब आप डिमार्केट करते हो इसको इस तरीके से, आप लोकेशन डिमार्केशन को स्पेसिफिकली लेते हैं. अभी इसको छोड़ो, ध्यान से देखेंगे. एशिया, द लार्जेस्ट कॉन्टिनेंट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, is accounting for approximate 30% of the Earth's landmass. Done. Largest continent with the 30% of the total landmass of the world. Asia. एशिया में आप वेस्ट एशिया, साउथ एशिया, साउथ ईस्ट एशिया डिमार्केट करते हैं. डिटेल्स विल फॉलो. एशिया, लार्जेस्ट कॉन्टिनेंट. सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट कॉन्टिनेंट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड इज अफ्रीका, अकाउंटिंग फॉर सम 20% of the total landmass. Africa, the second largest continent of the world, incorporate the island of Madagascar also. So when I take 20% of the total land area with Africa, I'm taking Madagascar to my stride. In regards to the school atlas, I prefer two. या तो आप ओरिएंट ब्लैक स्वान स्कूल एटलस का इस्तेमाल करिए, या फिर आप ऑक्सफोर्ड का इस्तेमाल करिए. आई डोंट नो हाउ टू प्रोनाउंस योर नेम. It must be your internet speed, because you are continuously coming in and out. So please check your internet speed. Rest of you, am I clearly audible? Okay. First, largest continent of the world, Asia, approximate 29% of land area. Done. Second largest continent of world, Africa, including Madagascar. Asia में South East Asian region है, हम उसके बारे में बात करेंगे डिटेल्स में लेंगे. Okay. Sorry for this interruption. I begin again. So I was just introducing you to the location of the size-wise continents. So Asia, the largest continent. Africa, the second largest continent. The third largest continent is North America. And the only thing that I have to tell you with North America is this. North America accounts for some 16% of the total land area to become the third largest continent of world, as it includes Greenland. Greenland is politically part of Denmark. If you don't include Greenland, I'll not be having third largest status of North America. Point 1. And point 2 that you have to be very comfortable with is right here. When I take the demarcation of these two, this is Isthmus of Tehuantepec, and this is Isthmus of Panama. Isthmus are narrow arm of land that connects two bigger land masses. Tehuantepec connects North America to Central America. बहुत ध्यान से सुनना, हम आपको क्या बता रहे हैं. So I just use a different color so that it becomes easy. This is called mainland of Central America, and this is called Caribbean Island. ये सब सेंट्रल अमेरिका के कंस्टिट्यूएंट हैं. The point that I'm trying all of us to understand is that Central America is by default considered to be the part of North America. And once that is done, then North America becomes the third largest continent of the world. क्योंकि डेनमार्क का टेरिटोरियल स्ट्रेच है ग्रीनलैंड, और तेहुआन तेपेक से पनामा तक आप सेंट्रल अमेरिका को ले रहे हो, that is included in North America to make it third largest continent of the world. This is the important point that you should be aware of, because that can be a possible question, and nothing is less important for us to take into account. Then comes in South America. South America begins south of Isthmus of Panama. So I take it from here, and it extends up to Terra del Fuego Island. So Terra del Fuego Island एक छोटा सा southern triangular island है, which is divided from the mainland by Magellan Strait. We'll talk about that in details. 11.9% है, आप round off करके 12% area ले सकते हैं. So South America, the fourth largest continent, and I'm repeating. Asia, the largest continent. Africa, the second largest continent, including Madagascar and all other smaller islands. I'll talk about that later. That is the reason I've not talked about Southeast Asia. Then I take reference of North America. North America by default includes Central America to be the third largest continent of the world. Then comes South America. After this, when I talk about the fifth largest continent, it is uninhabited continent of the world. That is Antarctica. And when I take this uninhabited continent of the world, I'm taking some 9% of the total geographical stretch. Antarctica, the uninhabited continent. Habited money with human population. Of course, scientific exploration centers are there. I'll make you learn that. And after this, you take on Europe, the sixth largest continent of the world. Round off kar do 7% of the total geographical area. And Oceania. So I just want to zoom it up. When I talk about the smallest continent of the world, इसका नाम है Oceania. या दूसरा नाम कह सकते हो Australasia. It's wrong for me to call it Australia, as all of you can easily see. I have got a sample given to me. This is the part of island country, Papua New Guinea. Visit of our Prime Minister have actually made it come into the limelight quite recently. This is New Zealand, this is Australia. So basically, when I talk about Oceania as the seventh largest continent, smallest continent, habited continent, I'm not just talking about Australia. I'm talking about Australia, New Zealand, and what is visible here is only a part. Papua New Guinea forms the member of what is called Melanesia, and we'll be learning up the other constituents, which are called Micronesia and also Polynesia. So basically, जब आप बात करते हो Oceania की approximately 6% of the total land mass, you are taking up Australia, New Zealand with Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. As I'll be talking about these continents, I've just given you a quick running reference of 7 continents of the world in terms of their geographical size: Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Oceania. 7 continents of the world. Now we are getting on to the study of important graticule. We call it geographical grid. That is what we have targeted for today. So what is geographical grid and how do I justify the study of it? So I get on to the study of geographical grid quickly. Every point written here so that we save on our time. And I want all of you to be very cautious and clear in picking up the things. Some points that is not written, I'll surely be writing. So we are talking about geographical, I just write it geographic grid. And geographic grid is demarcated to be involving 2 coordinates. बिल्कुल स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड प्रीलिम्स में क्वेश्चन पूछे गए हैं, सो इट शुड बी इजीली अवेलेबल एंड क्लियर विद अस. एक पॉइंट का रेफरेंस लोगे आराम से समझ में आएगा. 2 coordinates. The first is called latitude. Latitudes are also called parallels. Why are they called parallels? It is clearly written here, known as parallel. They run east-west in direction, measure distance north and south of equator. तो सबसे पहला पॉइंट तो यही हो गया कि इक्वेटर क्या है, इसके बारे में बात करें तो इक्वेटर इज द लॉन्गेस्ट एंड द ग्रेट सर्कल. इक्वेटर इज द लॉन्गेस्ट एंड द ग्रेट सर्कल. अब ये ग्रेट सर्कल का जो डेफिनेशन है इसको थोड़ा सा डिमार्केट करेंगे इन अ मिनट. Latitudes are the circles that are drawn at angular distance from equator. I want to zoom it up. Latitudes are drawn at the angular distance from equator. These are complete circles that are enveloping our globe, and that is the reason I have 90 degrees of latitude in north and 90 degrees of latitude in south. Equator is dividing my globe into two hemispheres, northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. Each hemisphere will be incorporating 90 degrees of latitude because circle has got 360 degrees. So आप circles में बना रहे हो तो 90 degrees you are covering 180 degrees north, 180 degrees south. Latitudes, the parallels, are drawn at angular distance from equator. Latitudes which are parallels are always equidistant, and that equidistant we have to just take into account in a minute. Carefully notice it as I take the distance from equator, that is from 0 degrees to 10 degrees to 20 degrees to 30 degrees, and I have reached 90 degrees. Have we noticed that latitudes goes on decreasing in their size as I increase the sign of latitude? That is the reason equator is the longest circle. Great circle को भी हटा कर रखते हैं. Poles are just the dot, and equator will be the largest circle that is dividing our globe into two parts, northern and southern hemisphere. सबसे पहली चीज ये. दूसरी, longest great circle with poles being just dots. That means when I talk about equator, they are equidistant but of different size. With the size decreasing as I increase sign of latitude. And what is meant by sign of latitude? 0 to 90 degrees north, 0 to 90 degrees south. I develop latitudes at angular distance from equator. What does that mean? Carefully see this diagram. I hope it is making sense. This is equator. And when I am taking 30 degrees latitude, it is basically 30 degrees at angular distance from equator. I hope it is comfortable. And same I can plot for south. So each latitude is drawn at the angular distance from equator. Equator is the largest circle. Equator, the largest circle, paves way to northern southern hemisphere with 90 degrees each. Each latitude is drawn at angular distance from equator. So equator is my reference point. Latitudes north, northern hemisphere, south, southern hemisphere. Now, when I talk about latitude, I very clearly say that only equator is the great circle. So great circle जो है ना, इस पर क्वेश्चन पूछा हुआ है, previous year question आप notice करोगे, so it will be giving you the question, you will recognize it. So when I talk about all the latitudes are circle, but equator is the only great circle. तो इस great circle को justify करने के लिए ऐसे करके define कर देते हैं. I just make my marker थोड़ा सा thinner ताकि quickly write कर दें. A great circle only equator drawn at 0 degree will be the great circle. समझ में आ गया है? ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. मतलब लैटिट्यूड में सिर्फ इक्वेटर इज अ ग्रेट सर्कल. लॉन्जिट्यूड पर आएंगे तो बाकी बात करेंगे. Now when I take reference of latitude beyond, latitude को इसके आगे बढ़ाएं तो क्या करना पड़ेगा? Latitude को इसके आगे बढ़ाएंगे तो ये करना पड़ेगा. Latitude is defined to be the parallels that are drawn at angular distance from equator, and we have 90 degrees of latitude in both the hemisphere, which are the principal latitudes for us to understand. It is equator, it is Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn is to be taken, I'll write it 23.5 degrees north, और बिल्कुल वैसे यहां पर करेंगे राउंडेड ऑफ फैक्टर में 23.5 degrees south. Then comes in Antarctic and Arctic circles. इनको आपने बिल्कुल उसी पॉइंट पर 66.5 degrees north and 66.5 degrees south रखना है. And then comes in north and south pole. अब बहुत ध्यान से सुनकर देखोगे, दो चीजें बता रहे हैं, नोटिस करना. When I take reference of these principal latitudes, why are we calling them principal? तो इसको ग्लोब पर हाईलाइट कर दिया ताकि हमारा पर्पस सॉल्व हो जाए. अब इसी पर आपको एक क्वेश्चन बाय डिफॉल्ट मिलता है आपके क्वेश्चन पेपर में, एंड इसकी नॉलेज आपको कितने सारे क्लाइमेटिक रीजन, बायोम एंड सॉइल के स्टडी में हेल्प करती है, वो आप अपने आप नोटिस करना. रेफरेंस पॉइंट के लिए बना दिया सन यहां पर. When I take reference of these important latitude, I just need to understand that they give me the justification of thermal zones. And just to maintain the simplicity of the diagram, I have drawn 3 arrows only. Between Tropic of Cancer to Tropic of Capricorn, between Tropic of Cancer to Tropic of Capricorn, you have torrid zone. Torrid zone is the warmest zone as a thermal zone because it receives direct sun rays throughout the year. Between Tropic of Cancer to Arctic Circle north, between Tropic of Cancer and Antarctic Circle south, you have temperate zone. Temperate zone is a moderate temperature zone. And ये वाला क्वेश्चन भी बहुत आराम से प्रीलिम्स में पूछा जा सकता है. I have got 2 temperate zones, one in northern hemisphere, one in southern hemisphere. But I have 1 torrid zone because torrid zone is continuous between our Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. And the final, I can safely shade it like this. It is frigid zones. And what are frigid zones? The coldest zones that extends from Arctic Circle to North Pole and Antarctic Circle to South Pole. They are coldest area, frigid. So this map or diagram that is there in front of you is called thermal zones. And temperature decreasing with increase in sign of latitude gives you 5 thermal zones. 1 torrid, 2 temperate, 2 frigid. What is Tropic of Cancer? It is drawn at the angular distance of 23.5 degrees north of equator. What does that stands for? That stands for the demarcation of distance for us to learn. So what I do is I just shrink it up, use black marker and identify. Each degree of latitude is 111 kilometers apart. And it remains static throughout. So ध्यान से add on करते जाएंगे. अगर हम 0 डिग्री से 90 डिग्री जा रहे हैं तो 0 से 1, 1 से 2, 2 से 3, 3 से 4. Every latitude is at 111 kilometers distance apart. And latitudes distance don't change. The size of the circle keeps on changing. That is a different thing. So equator becomes the largest and the great circle. Great circle का definition आपको बता दिया. Poles are dot, but they are equi-spaced. They are not having the distance variation. So they are 111 kilometers apart. Point second, each degree of latitude is divided into 60 minutes. And each minute is divided into 60 seconds. हैंड रेज करना। आप लोगों ने भू आधार सुना है, इंडिया में मोबिलाइज हुआ है इन द डिजिटाइजेशन ऑफ लैंड रिकॉर्ड्स। हैंड रेज करो जल्दी से, है ना। अब उसमें क्या कह रहे हैं, 26 स्टेट्स में आपने, 26 स्टेट्स एंड यूनियन टेरिटरीज में आपने इसको मोबिलाइज किया है। आपके मोबिलाइजेशन में कौन सा इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है जिसको आपने जस्टिफाई करना है, तो सोच कर देखो। इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द भू आधार, आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेक द लैंड होल्डिंग, माने मेरा प्रॉपर्टी का आप लैटिट्यूड और लॉन्जिट्यूड डिमार्केट करेंगे टू गिव दैट पर्टिकुलर लैंड होल्डिंग द स्पेसिफिक लोकेशनल आइडेंटिटी। तो क्या ये 1 किलोमीटर या 111 किलोमीटर के रेफरेंस पर जा पाएगा? नहीं जा पाएगा ना। यू हैव टू जूम इन, and that is where division of latitudes and longitude works into account. So each degree of latitude is divided into 60 minutes and each minute is divided into 60 seconds. So when I say Tropic of Cancer is at 23.5 degrees north, I can also call it Tropic of Cancer is at 23 degrees 30 minutes north. I think it is making sense. प्रिंसिपल लैटिट्यूड्स हमारे सामने आ गए। लैटिट्यूड के इंपॉर्टेंट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हमने समझ लिए। इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ लैटिट्यूड इज विद thermal zones. So this is also very clearly done. When I take reference of latitude, I'm actually taking up thermal zones into account. And what additional factor that you should take into consideration when you are talking about latitude is points that I showed you in the beginning, right here. Parallels never meet each other. It gets shorter towards pole. We have seen it, with equator being the longest and the great circle. आपको great circle का definition भी बता। And now I get on to the another constituent of the geographical grid. It is called longitude, meridians. So let us go on there. काफी सारे डिटेल्स हैं इसमें, पहले तो आप इधर से ही देख लो। लॉन्जिट्यूड, द मरीडियंस। When I talk about meridians, I very clearly take them as midday lines joining the place which have their noon at same time. सबसे important point, एकदम थ्रो अवे मार्क्स क्वेश्चन आता है जो हमारे हाथ से निकल जाता है प्रीलिम्स में, that you have to take up the reference very clearly of midday. Why it is called meridians? Longitude, meridians. Meridians because it is midday lines that are joining the places that have their noon same. They run from north to south, and I just highlight this. That is, they are running from North Pole to South Pole. And what we have decided as the measuring distance, it is measuring distance east and west with prime meridian. Prime meridian is thus plotted at 0 degrees. I have just highlighted it. Prime meridian is Greenwich. Prime meridian is Greenwich. International timeline. अभी टाइम के बारे में थोड़ा सा डिटेल्स बताएंगे। ग्रीनविच लाइन, दे ऑल आर इक्वल इन लेंथ बट दे आर एट वेरिएबल डिस्टेंस. यू हैव टू विजुअलाइज इट. एज आई टॉक अबाउट meridians, they merge at pole and are farthest apart at equator. And that is the reason when I take up the reference of meridians, they are crossing equator at right angle. If I just zoom it up, you can notice that all meridians, I just need to make it slightly thinner. First, let me remove this line and then it will be visible. ध्यान से देखो, when I take reference of meridians, are we noticing? They merge at pole. So by default, they will be farthest apart at equator. And this is what you have to learn here, right here. ये भी important question बन सकता है. Distance between the two adjacent meridian is not same. It is largest at 0 degrees and least at 90 degrees north and south. At 0 degrees, thus, every meridian has 111 kilometers of distance with them, as we have that were parallels. And the distance between them is decreasing. So carefully see. It is decreasing to become 0 kilometers at 90 degrees north and south. I think this is clearly evident. Maximum distance between the meridians is at equator, visible right here. Why do we call it meridians? We call them meridians because they have got midday together. They are farthest apart from each other at equator and they converge towards pole. So distance is not same. I think it is very clearly evident. And please note very carefully that when I take the account of meridians, and I just want to zoom it up here, this is important, they are halves of the great circles. Meridians are half lines. Meridians are half lines that incorporate the variations in their locational characteristics. And when you try to take up the demarcation of half circles, 360 divisions of equator, each division showing one of each of 180 lines. Isliye prime meridian, this is my prime meridian, I have got 179 degrees east west. क्योंकि 0 डिग्रीज का जो एंटीपोडल लाइन होगा उसको आप बोलोगे 180 डिग्रीज लॉन्जिट्यूड. सो ऐसे ये लिखा हुआ है, इसको थोड़ा सा रिमूव कर दिया हमने, ध्यान से देखो. 180 डिग्रीज इज वन लाइन ओनली, दैट इज इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन, and 0 degrees is also, I'm again writing line, is also one line that is international time line, universal time. तो 0 degrees और 80 degrees हो गए एक दूसरे के एंटीपोडल लाइन्स. बाकी there is 180 degrees longitude east and west where 180 and 0 degrees will go common. Latitudes are circles, longitudes are half circles. Every longitude is identified to be the great circle. All longitudes are great circle. Of course, when you are taking them with their antipodal lines. और एंटीपोडल लाइंस जज करना है तो इसको जज करो, बड़ा अच्छा सा डायग्राम है. ये भी आपका बहुत आराम से एक क्वेश्चन बन सकता है. ध्यान से देखो, जूम कर रहे हैं. एंटीपोडल लाइंस को डिमार्केट करने का काम कर रहे हैं, ध्यान से देखेंगे. इफ दिस इज माय 0 डिग्रीज प्राइम मरीडियन, इसका एंटीपोडल लाइन क्या है? 180 डिग्रीज. कहने का मतलब ये है ना कि आपने एक सर्कल में एक लाइन इधर ड्रॉ करा है और इसका बैक लाइन जो है, दिस इज हाफ सर्कल, तो इसका जो बैक लाइन है वो क्या होगा? वो होगा उसका एंटीपोडल लाइन. एंटीपोड्स बोलते हैं. सो व्हाट इज एंटीपोड ऑफ 0 डिग्रीज? इट इज 180 डिग्रीज. बहुत एविडेंस वाले चॉइसेस हैं. व्हाट इज एंटीपोड ऑफ 90 डिग्रीज वेस्ट? इट विल बी 90 डिग्रीज ईस्ट. What will be the antipode of 60 degrees west longitude? It will be 120 degrees east longitude. I hope you are noticing it. क्योंकि अगर इसको हम थोड़ा सा जूम आउट करें तो आपको दिखाई दे रहा है that meridians are half circles. तो antipodal lines only. And this antipodal line gives me the demarcation of these. So I just want all of us to notice it. Now let me just remove some of the expressions there so that it becomes slightly neat for us to understand. हटा दिया. Notice करें. Are we noticing that when I take the prime meridian into consideration, I am dividing our globe into two parts. This is east and this is west. And when I take reference of east and west, You have to justify eastern and western hemisphere with half circles each, right? And when you are taking up the reference of this half circle each, मरीडियन का इंपॉर्टेंस विद टाइम आ जाएगा. अभी हम आपको टाइम के बारे में समझा रहे हैं. पहले ये बात बताओ, एंटीपोडल पॉइंट इज क्लियर. Latitudes do not have antipodes. They are circles. Longitudes, meridians have got antipodes. And comes in this. Both important. As Earth rotates, written so that we save our time. As Earth rotates from west to east through 360 degrees in 24 hours, we know that it is approximate 24 hours. That is the reason we have leap year. बहुत important point पर है. As Earth spins on its axis, rotates on its axis from west to east in 24 hours, every 15 degrees longitude will have 1 hour time change. And I repeat, every 15 degrees longitude will have 1 hour time change. कैसे time change होगा? Writing it here. East will be gaining, and thus you have to add. West will be losing, thus you have to subtract. मतलब हर 15 डिग्री ये बना रखा है आपके लिए. अगर प्राइम मरीडियन पर इट्स नून राइट नाउ, तो 15 डिग्रीज ईस्ट पर 1 PM होगा और 15 डिग्रीज वेस्ट पर 11 AM होगा. इट इज 15 डिग्रीज लैटिट्यूड, 15 degrees longitude, I'm sorry, which is adding or subtracting an hour. And because Earth is spinning on its axis west to east, that is the reason I've written here, sun appears to be moving from east to west. We say sun rises from east and sets in west. Sun is a stationary body. It's the apparent movement that we take into account. Okay. अब यहाँ पर आ जाओ, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है. जूम अप कर दिया, दिखाई दे रहा है. जो कॉपी डाउन करना है उसको आप कॉपी डाउन भी करेंगे. नोटिस इट एंड नोटिस इट वेरी केयरफुली. Longitude relates to time. Longitude relates to time. Time, standard time. Standard time is correlated to Earth getting divided into 24 time zones. I'm just coming on there. And when it comes to time, I'll also have local time and sun time. When I take up the local time, it is the time of a given location, at a given location. Right in India, it is 1:48 PM. Sun time is the time when sun is right overhead crossing the meridian. So we do have got these as the demarcated reference of them. Local time is largely defined by standard meridian. जैसे इंडिया का longitudinal difference जो है वो 30 degrees का है. अरुणाचल प्रदेश से गुजरात तक I have got 30 degrees longitudinal distance. इसका मतलब 2 घंटे का डिफरेंस आ जाएगा अरुणाचल प्रदेश और गुजरात में. That is the reason 82 degrees 30 minutes east is our prime meridian. And that is what we take up as standard time zone. That is, Earth is divided into 24 time zones for each demarcated area. Another very important information. Standard time, that is local time zone, each longitude has. So coordinate of universal time dictates the application of standard time. So when I take the reference of standard time and standard time zone, among the sovereign states, France has got the maximum time zone, 12. एंटार्क्टिका को सॉवरन में इंक्लूड नहीं करते, इसलिए उसको बबल में डाल. यूएसए हैज 11 टाइम जोन्स, रशिया हैज 11. इट्स रिलेटेड टू मेनलैंड. दीज आर द इंपॉर्टेंट कंस्टिट्यूएंट. कई बार लिस्ट वाला क्वेश्चन भी पूछा जा सकता है. दिस ईयर इन प्रीलिम्स दे हैव आस्क्ड यू गिवन स्टेटमेंट्स आर करेक्ट, सो यू माइट एनकाउंटर दिस स्टेटमेंट. कनाडा हैज 6 टाइम जोन. इट सीम्स लाइक हम कनाडा को क्यों यूएसए से कम टाइम जोन्स दे रहे हैं. क्योंकि यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका में अलास्का का बहुत मेजर एक्सटेंशन आएगा ना, अभी लेकर जा रहे हैं आपको। सो दीज आर दी सॉवरन स्टेट्स। अगर रैंकिंग में काउंट करेंगे तो एंटार्क्टिका को यूके से पहले लेना पड़ेगा, बट एंटार्क्टिका डजंट हैव sovereign status, so it has to be counted separately. Standard time is the coordinate time. It can be correlated with the standard time of the world, that is Greenwich. But as I said, in India, we should have thereby 2 time zones, but we have selected it to be 1. And that is the reason it is 82 degrees 30 minutes east, which is 5 hours 30 minutes ahead of the standard global time. That is the international time, the Greenwich time, prime meridian. अच्छा, अब इसके बाद एक और पॉइंट आपको समझाना है, एंड इफ आई एम करेक्ट आई विल बी गेटिंग इट राइट हियर ऑन दिस मैप. यस आई कैन. इसके लिए थोड़ा सा एक डिफाइंड मैप पर आपको लेकर जाते हैं. आई थिंक दैट विल गिव यू द बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. सो लेट मी जस्ट ओपन दिस. ओके, आई बिगिन फ्रॉम हियर. ध्यान से देखना, ठीक है. अब आपको मैप ऑफ नॉर्थ अमेरिका तो समझाया था, आप ध्यान से देख सकते हो. दिस इज 75 डिग्रीज नॉर्थ लैटिट्यूड, और ये मेरा पोल दिखाई दे रहा है. सो आई जस्ट वांट ऑल ऑफ अस टू नोटिस दिस. दिस शुड बी, लेबल नहीं किया हुआ है पर हम लेबल कर रहे हैं. दिस शुड बी टेकन अप एज 180 डिग्रीज लॉन्जिट्यूड, ठीक है. अब ध्यान से देखोगे कि 180 डिग्रीज लॉन्जिट्यूड जो है वो रशिया के इस पेनिनसुला के छोटे से पार्ट को दूसरे हेमिस्फेयर में छोड़ेगा. तो इसलिए क्या करना है, आई एम मेकिंग अप अ डॉटेड लाइन लाइक दिस, ऐसे बना दिया. और इसके बाद अगर इसको थोड़ा सा और एक्सटेंड करेंगे, इट विल गो लाइक दिस. यहां पर मेरा नॉर्थ अमेरिका का अलूशियन आइलैंड्स है. So I want all of us to notice one thing very clearly. 180 degrees longitude तो बिल्कुल स्ट्रेट आर्क पर जाएगा, बट इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन का पहला बेंट आ गया ये, और दूसरा बेंट जाएगा ये बेंट आया ताकि चुकची पेनिनसुला जो है वो रशिया यानी ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर में ही रह जाए, और दूसरा बेंट आया अलूशियन आइलैंड रिमेन्स इन वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर. नहीं तो एक ही कंट्री के टेरिटरी में आपको 2 डेट्स मैनेज करने पड़ेंगे. सो प्लीज नोट व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू प्रूव. 180 डिग्रीज लॉन्जिट्यूड is not synonymous to इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन, क्योंकि इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन में सर्टेन मैनिपुलेशंस आर डन टू एडजस्ट द टाइम जोन ऑफ द रिस्पेक्टिव कंट्री. नदर्न हेमिस्फेयर में पहला बेंट किसकी वजह से, चुकची पेनिनसुला, विच आई हैव शेडेड लाइक दिस. Chukchi Peninsula, the landmass bounded by water on 3 sides, ताकि वो रहे ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर में, वो रशिया का पार्ट है. And if I ask you to take up the other, it's Aleutian Island. Aleutian Island is politically United States of America. ठीक है. और दूसरे बेंट को देखने के लिए हम आराम से इसी मैप पर नोटिस कर सकते हैं. जस्ट बी वेरी कॉशियस इन नोटिसिंग इट. ये आगे हम It incorporate the bent along Kiribati Island, ताकि पूरा किरीबाती आइलैंड जो है कौन से हेमिस्फेयर में आ जाए, ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर. ये फिर वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर. आप बोलोगे वेस्टर्न कैसे है, तो मुझे मेरे ईस्ट में दिखाई दे रहा है. समझ में आ रहा है कैसे देख रहे हो. दिस इज माई ग्लोब, दिस इज माई प्राइम मरीडियन 0 डिग्रीज. तो ये आपका ईस्ट है, ये आपका वेस्ट है. पर हम जो अभी मैप देख रहे हैं उसको हम किस तरीके से देख रहे हैं, हम देख रहे हैं 180 डिग्रीज के पर्सपेक्टिव से. तो ये तो वेस्ट ही होना चाहिए और ये ईस्ट होना चाहिए. ऑपोजिट देख रहे हो ना. गेटिंग इट? कम ऑन, लेट मी गो अहेड. Globe, thumb is my prime meridian and my little fingers are 180 degrees. हम normally तो मैप को ऐसे ही देखते हैं ना कि आपने क्या कर दिया, आपने अपने मैप को इस तरह से डिमार्केट कर दिया. अब आप कैसे देख रहे हो, आप ऐसे देख रहे हो. दिस इज योर प्राइम मरीडियन, तो ये ईस्ट हेमिस्फेयर है. पर अगर आप उसको इमेजिन कर रहे हो 180 डिग्रीज, तो जो आपके ईस्ट में दिख रहा है वो वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर होगा. फ्रेंच पोलिनेशिया, see it here, you will be very comfortably noticing it. Let me just open up that map. I'll be showing on the details later as we proceed further with our study. I think I'm having it here. Yes, it is much visible here. देखो जरा ध्यान से. ओशनिया, I hope you are noticing it. अगर इसमें हम थोड़ा सा इसको हाईलाइट करने की कोशिश करें विद अ थिकर मार्कर, इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन लिखा हुआ है, संडे मंडे भी लिखा हुआ है, ध्यान से देखते जाओ. आई एम जस्ट हाईलाइटिंग. यही बना के दिया था ना अभी आपको. किस आइलैंड की वजह से हमने ये बेंट किया है 180 डिग्रीज, मिस मत करना. ये रहा. आई होप इट इज कंफर्टेबल. So which are the islands or which are the territories that have made international date line having its bend? It's Chukchi Peninsula in north, Aleutian Islands in north, and Kiribati Island in south as the major constituent. And that is the reason if I go on map of world, I've got some hazy map with me, but I think it will help now. If I go on map of world, I think all of us are very comfortable in recognizing it. ये बेल्ट किसका हुआ? चुकची. ये बेल्ट किसका हुआ? Aleutian. उसके बाद आप सीधा जा रहे हो और ये आपका बेल्ट किसकी वजह से हुआ है? किरीबाती. Come on, give me a confident go ahead. समझ में आ गया? बहुत आराम से समझ में आ गया. एंड दिस इज माय प्राइम मरीडियन. प्राइम मरीडियन, द 0 डिग्रीज मरीडियन. ये आपका ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर है, ये आपका वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर है. तो ये ईस्ट ही तो होगा, है ना? आपने ग्लोब ओपन कर दिया ना, मैप, ग्लोब को ओपन करके मैप बना. तो विच कॉन्टिनेंट्स, आपको शुरुआत कराई थी कॉन्टिनेंट से, वही बात दोबारा से बता देते हैं. विच कॉन्टिनेंट्स आर इन वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर? ये हो गया भाई वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर. दिस इज वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर. नॉर्थ अमेरिका, साउथ अमेरिका आर इन वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर. आर दीज टू ओनली कॉन्टिनेंट्स इन वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर? नहीं, एक छोटा पार्ट ऑफ अफ्रीका एंड यूरोप भी ले सकते हो, but continent wise this. And when I talk about Africa, Asia, Oceania, हम कहते हैं भाई ओशनिया का सिर्फ पोलिनेशिया. इसलिए आपको थोड़ा सा रनिंग रेफरेंस ऑफ कॉन्टिनेंट्स बता दिया था. पोलिनेशिया को तो डालो वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर में, बाकी पूरा ओशनिया और पूरा यूरेशिया, यूरोप के कुछ छोटे टेरिटरीज. छोटे टेरिटरीज का मतलब सिर्फ साइज में छोटा नहीं है, जैसे आइसलैंड छोटा हो गया, ग्रीनलैंड छोटा नहीं है, लेकिन ग्रीनलैंड किसका हिस्सा है? डेनमार्क का हिस्सा है ना. तो ये तो वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर में ही जाएगा. सो यूरोप में आप ओवरलैप कर सकते हो वेस्टर्न ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर. एशिया फुली इन ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर. ओशनिया बारिंग द एक्सेप्शन ऑफ पोलिनेशिया इन ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फेयर. आई थिंक दिस इज डन. काउंट कर लेते हैं एक बार दोबारा से. When I talk about meridians, midday is same. I very clearly take them to be angular distance from prime meridian. Because they are half circles, we have got 180 degrees in east and in west. Wherein 0 degrees and 180 degrees are same. That is 0 degrees prime meridian and 180 degrees, that is international date line, are antipode to each other. 90 degrees east and 90 degrees west are antipode to each other. So meridians have got antipodal characteristics. They are not equi-spaced. They are farthest at equator and converge at pole. Latitudes are equi-spaced, but they are not of same size. They are largest at equator and are dots at pole. Latitude goes with thermal zones. Longitude goes with time. East, gain, ab. So Indian prime meridian is 82 degrees 30 minutes east. तो हम 5 घंटे 5.5 घंटे प्राइम मरीडियन टाइम से आगे हैं. वेस्ट, लूज, सबट्रैक्ट. और सबट्रैक्शन और एडिशन क्या करना पड़ेगा? हर 15 डिग्रीज लॉन्जिट्यूड में 1 आवर. That is the reason we divide our globe into 24 time zones. चुक्ची पेनिनसुला उज्जवल, ये जो पेनिनसुला है ना रशिया का, मार्कर को थिन कर देते हैं और ब्लैक कर देते हैं. ये जो पेनिनसुला है ना रशिया का, ये इसको चुक्ची पेनिनसुला बोलते हैं. और ये जो पेनिनसुला है अलास्का का, इसको बोलते हैं सीवर्ड पेनिनसुला. सीवर्ड पेनिनसुला और चुक्ची पेनिनसुला एक दूसरे को ऑलमोस्ट टच करती है और यही जगह कहलाती है बेरिंग स्ट्रेट. Strait are narrow arm of water that connects to bigger water bodies. अच्छा यहां देखो ध्यान से, ये दिखाई दे रहा है ना, अलूशियन आइलैंड्स. बताया था ना, अलूशियन आइलैंड्स की वजह से बेंट किया हमने. अलूशियन आइलैंड्स पॉलिटिकली बिलोंग्स टू यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका. मेरे ख्याल से समझ में आया बच्चों. आता है रिवाइज कर लो. बहुत बेसिक चीज है और इतनी क्लैरिटी के साथ हम इसको पढ़ते नहीं. और ऐसा सिंपल क्वेश्चन की व्हाट इज meant by midline, what is meant by great circle, what is meant by no, consider the following statement, which of them are correct or wrong, and it is going on with the great circle. आप क्वेश्चन को गलत कर देते हो, तो that is something which should be considered.